110 million records over the course of half a century, and France loves the rock star so much that when there were rumours that he'd had a botched operation, the home of the doctor thought responsible was attacked by a masked gang. The rest of the world, though, would struggle to name a single Johnny Hallyday song. So if you want an insight into the French rock and roller's work, he's just released a new album and is going on tour worldwide.
Johnny Hallyday. The name sounds American, and so does his music. But the man is French. His real name is Jean-Philippe Smet. Relatively unknown outside of his native country, 69-year-old Johnny is France's greatest rock and roller, the closest thing to a French Elvis or a Mick Jagger. In the 1960s, Johnny practically introduced rock and roll to his country. He also brought Jimi Hendrix to France to play as a supporting act in 1966. Now the singer has released his 48th album, The Wait, inspired by his early tunes.
I wanted to give the public an album that's just like me, musically and emotionally. I wanted to convey deep emotions to the public.
Johnny got more than 1,000 song proposals for this album. He chose 11 of them, songs about love, getting older, and remorse. Not just a singer, Johnny has been a movie star, and in 2011, he was the lead in a French play for the first time.
Acting on stage, being someone else on stage, has made me want to do the same in my music.
Last month, he played his first UK show in London. Johnny, who nearly died after botched surgery in 2009, says singing keeps him alive.
I love you guys.
Now, as you saw in that report, there are some pretty impressive old videos of Johnny Hallyday knocking about from the 60s and 70s. Here he is with his stylish quiff and moody looks. Despite the poor quality, looking back at old videos is a delight, even if they're not of superstars like Johnny. Now, France's National Audiovisual Institute is calling on you to have a rummage for any old family films to share them with a much wider audience.
Family holidays, village fairs, celebrations and special occasions. Hours and hours of captured memories hidden away in attics and basements across France. In this tiny storeroom, Richard has hoarded dozens of reels of old Super 8 footage. He hasn't watched them in years.
You had to take out the projector, fix the reel, but the film would break and you'd have to reattach it. It was such a pain.
So Richard copied the reels onto DVD and recovered rare images from the 1960s. He entrusted them to France's National Audiovisual Institute. They're now spearheading efforts to archive old amateur film.
I'd wonder why it took them so long.
And at the Institute, staff screen footage submitted to the project. A reduction is offered to the public towards the cost of digitising the old formats. Archivists want to add individual memories to a grand collection, and even commonplace then is poignant now.
Take, for example, a group exercising by the sea, and behind them is Biarritz or Saint-Jean-de-Luz. That's of interest because the seafront might have changed, and we want to record that.
All videos selected will be available to view online, and requests can be made to use the footage professionally. This 60s sporting cavalcade was donated by our retiree and then spotted by a filmmaker.
He sent me an email to say he'd seen my footage of the 1961 Tour de France. He explained he was making a documentary on the race and that he'd like to use the pictures.
Saint-Tropez before Brigitte Bardot. 1970s suburban living. Kisses full of hope at post-war weddings. Indeed, you may have your own treasure chest full of similar gems, longing to once again see the light of day.
Now, the Louvre Museum has a smaller sister in Lens, the Pompidou has a younger cousin in Metz, and now Paris's Arab World Institute has opened an outpost in Tourcoing in northern France. Commissioned by President François Mitterrand for 25 years, the Paris site has been a leading light for the study and display of Arab and Islamic culture in France. Although the new space may not attract 1 million visitors a year like the Arab World Institute in the capital, it's hoped it'll bring culture from the Arab world to a wider audience.
It's for the public. The Arab World Institute doesn't want to be or to become something elitist. On the contrary, the goal of the Arab World Institute is to show French people the culture of different Arab countries and their history, their splendor, their richness. We don't want to show them as we see them in French society today, meaning through the smallest possible lens that rejects and ostracizes.
Now, twirling his waxed moustache, Salvador Dali's larger-than-life figure was beamed into millions of homes in the 60s, his televised antics bringing huge fame, but burning his bridges with the art world. Now, a major new Paris exhibit aims to reinstate that legacy, putting Dali's media stunts on equal footing with his surrealist painting.
Melting clocks hung on the Pompidou Museum, surreal special effects in honor of one artist, but who was Dali?
A nut job.
Eccentric.
Mustache.
Theatrical. Exuberant.
A madman, perhaps. The difference between me and a madman is that I am not mad, he wrote. In his mind, he was rather...
Un provocateur. C'est-à-dire un provocateur de tout.
And it worked. Dali is the pioneer of performance art, as well as a master of made-up languages. The king of provocation invented a new way of selling his art. In the streets of Paris, opinions vary.
He totally understood the concept of marketing.
What he does is so strong, it's not just marketing.
His paranoid state, his obsessions. 200 of his works will be on display at the Pompidou Museum in Paris, like The Temptation of St. Anthony, The Venus de Milo Withdrawers, The Persistence of Memory, or The Face of Mae West, an exhibit that portrays the complexity and wealth of his personality, an artist capable of outshining his works with a simple bite of chocolate in a cult TV ad in France.
Je suis fou du chocolat Lanvin.
He was somebody who tried to influence reality by creating happenings in reality.
Upsetting our normal expectations of reality, the man behind the mustache made history with his art and his eccentricity.
Merci. Bonjour.
Well, I'm certainly tempted to check it out. That's it for culture. Coming up in web news, we see how after being accused of murder, the founder of McAfee antivirus software has launched a blog where he claims his innocence. Stay tuned.